Question I get a lot is, what is probate and why do I need it? Probate is the legal process of gaining the authority through the courts that you need to handle the estate of a deceased person. Essentially what you're trying to do is get access to the assets of the deceased. You're trying to get the ability to get to their property and move it to where it needs to go. Now, that can come down in a lot of different ways. Their assets could be things like bank accounts, checking, savings, IRAs, those kinds of things. The bank is not going to just release that to anybody. They're going to require you to go to court and get authorization to pull those funds out and disperse them. The same applies to to a house. The house is in the name of the deceased. You can't sell it until it's no longer in that person's name, so you have to have the authority of the court to go in and sell the house. Wills make probate so much easier. A will is basically a letter from you or I to a judge that says, when I pass away, here's who I want to be in charge, here's what I want them to have to do to get to be in charge, and here's what I want them to do once they're in charge. An example of this would be a brother and sister whose parents pass away. If they have a will, the will will name who's going to be in charge and what they're to do. So what happens is, let's say the older sibling has been placed in charge by the will. That person will file an action for probate with the court, seeking authority to handle the estate. The judge will grant that because that's what the will says they're supposed to do. Then that older sibling will go to the bank with the letter of authorization from the court and pull the money out of the bank and disperse it as the way the will says. So if the will says 50-50, they divide by 2, and that's how they handle that. They also can then go to a mortgage company or a realtor and sell the house and divide the money or profits from the sale of the house the way the will says. The biggest mistake I see regarding probate is inaction. It's people just not doing anything. The problem is that the courts have a limited amount of time under which they have the authority to probate a will, and if you wait too long, the court loses authority. There's still things that can be done, but it becomes incredibly expensive and time-consuming if you wait too long. Probate is a complicated set of laws. The laws regarding probate are drawn from multiple countries, and so they're just convoluted and they're difficult to deal with. You could potentially probate your loved one's estates, but you probably shouldn't. It's just complicated enough that having a lawyer will smooth things out and make it a lot easier for you. You're already dealing with the loss of a loved one. There's no reason to have to struggle with the courts when a lawyer can fix the problem for you quickly and efficiently. We were talking a little bit earlier about two siblings who are working together or who get along when their parents pass away. That's not always the case, unfortunately. There's something about people passing that sometimes brings out the worst in people. If the parties are not getting along, if the siblings in this example are fighting, it's not uncommon for both of them to need a probate lawyer to protect their rights. I've seen people take everything out of the house, regardless of what the will says, and it just disappears. The only way you're going to get it back is by court order, and the only way you're going to get that court order is to have a lawyer.